Run it.
Oh, welcome to the Giessen Brothers podcast for another episode. I believe this is episode 4.
Should be.
Okay. We're going to basically break down what we do to schedule out our day, personal and business, the night prior.
Yeah, the day, what we do day in and day out to help set us up for success in the following days. And, same thing with maybe we do something specifically every week that sets us up for the next week. So we'll try and, tailor this stuff, most of the information that we're providing, not only to business owners, but also for personal development, because that's super important in every aspect. So
yeah, and I know I keep on getting questions about both sides. It's not just business, it's also how to set up personal, more or less, how do I integrate, the personal into the business and keep them separate at the same time while scheduling.
Right, yeah. And it is absolutely important that you spend some time focusing on yourself. It's going to completely relate and correlate to how your business is operating. So, for starters, we were talking, I think last time we had sort of broken into, and I tried to keep us on topic last time, because this is a whole conversation in itself.
Yeah,
that we wanted to kind of be specific about. So you had mentioned last time setting yourself up for success the night before you go, to the gym or whatever. Mm-hmm. So dive into that a little bit. Tell us what it is that you do, and then I'll share some of my tips as far as what you do at the end of the day personally to set your morning up for success.
Yeah, so just kind of to break down what I do in the evening after. So typically around 8 is when my oldest daughter goes to sleep. When she goes to sleep after that, it's about 30 minutes to an hour of adult time, being able to actually spend time with my wife during the day. Yep. When the kids are not actually there. Then I'm simply looking at, because I wake up at 3 to be able to go to the gym at 3:30. I want to make sure at 3 o'clock the last thing I'm doing is fumbling around in the dark. And we have a 5-month-old. So last thing I want to do is start waking the baby up, trying to, shuffle through everything, and more or less be in that fog of being confused in the morning, not, knowing where everything is. I make sure at least all my gym clothes are put out, but it's not just as simple as that. I also make sure that my water is set up in the morning. I also make sure that the coffee pot is set up to make sure that when I get home from the gym, my coffee's set up. I don't have to sit there and wait. And it's more or less, I try to just add in extra steps to alleviate any time during the next day. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want, and my biggest pet peeve, is when I waste 30 minutes doing something I could have done prior and just prepped it.
Right.
It eats away at me the most when I sit there. I'm like, if I would have, just prepped a little bit better, and it used to. Now it doesn't, do it because I prep. But right. It used to eat away at me that I'd waste 30 minutes because I didn't have something prepped. So now all my clothes are prepped, the coffee's prepped. If it's trash, I do trash night prior. It's everything I can do the night prior in the most convenient way. It's nothing that's going to take me 4 hours to do, and that's what I can't convey the most to people is setting yourself up for the night. It seems so simple, that getting your clothes ready.
Yep.
But getting your clothes ready every single night only takes 3 minutes.
Right.
So 15 in the morning when you're scrambling, not knowing anything.
Yep.
And it's might just seem like this littlest thing in the world, putting your gym clothes out, getting the coffee pot ready in the evening, putting a timer on it, putting out the trash the day prior, making sure that the dog food is already prepped, ready to go the night prior. So all you got to do is just slide the bowls in, mm-hmm. and you're ready to move. And you don't have to think, and it just is an ease. 15 minutes of prep can save an hour of time in the morning.
Yes.
And that's what it really, turns into, is how much time can you save by doing it in the front end.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of points to be made in that, and then I'll talk about a couple things, and then I'll share my what I do the night before. So a lot of people ask us, how in the heck do you get up so early? And this is part of the reason how we're able to get up so early. So you get up at 3 a.m. because you live a lot closer to the gym. You live about 15 minutes away from the gym. I get up at about, it's been 2:30 lately, but my alarm goes off at 2:40. That gives me a couple minutes to get out of the door by 3 because I live about 30 minutes away from the gym. So, everybody, that's impossible. I could never do that. And I have gotten addicted to becoming maximally efficient in every way that I can.
Yes.
Right. So right down to like you were just talking about, where the night before I will. First of all, that's what allows me to wake up so early because I'm not thinking. In the past, what would happen is I would wake up, my alarm would go off, and I would make excuses as to why I can't get up. I don't have time to do this. I
don't want to get out of bed. I got to go get my clothes.
I forgot to fold the laundry. Whatever. I forgot to put the stuff in the dryer.
There's so many that goes through your mind. So if you can eliminate every single one of them, my biggest fear is not getting out of bed.
Yeah.
And I mean that because ultimately I'm the most lazy person at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
I don't want to do anything. If I get to the relaxing stage, don't bother me. Mm-hmm. But I know if I put myself in that relaxing stage, staying in bed, then nothing will get done, and then everything is just a delay because now I'm just using excuses. So if I can eliminate that before I even get up and don't even use them, the only thing I have to think about is roll out of bed. Yeah. That's it.
So
makes it easier.
There's a couple of things that make it easier getting out of bed, but that's one of them. If you set yourself up for success. So some of the things that I do before bed every night, simple things. Personally, actually it's all mainly personally before bed because we'll get into business in a minute, but I try to finish business before I even get home. That way the next, I'm not spending the afternoon, and I've gotten better at this over the past couple weeks, but that way I'm not spending any time away from my family once it's their time. So anyway, before I go to bed every night, so there's 5 days in the work week typically for most people. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We go to the gym every single one of those days. We right now are recording podcasts 3 of those days. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So each night looks a little different for me because those days look different for me.
I will say that. So. And I say just those couple little things. If I really break it down, it's probably more, and I'm not thinking about it because it's just habits at this point.
Right.
But yeah, the nights that we do the podcast, I prep differently than on the Tuesdays and Thursdays because I don't have to do as much in the mornings.
Right. So for me, again, I live 30 minutes away from the gym. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when we do our podcasting, the night before, so Sunday night, I will pack a gym bag because I know that I'm showering at the gym and then coming straight to the studio because the studio is 2 minutes away from the gym, and I'm not going to drive all the way back home to shower just to come back out here. So that's that would be an hour and a half of driving before 5 a.m. It's not efficient. And again, I'm into efficiency now, so I pack a gym bag the night before. I make sure that everything that I need to shower is in there, deodorant,
anything
towel,
you need for work,
shower shoes, all my clothes, all that stuff. I pack my my little
got the flip flops.
Yep,
the black ones.
Yeah. Cut your toes up to hell. Yep. So I got those. Towel. I put a plastic bag in there so that after I get out, I can put my wet towel in the plastic bag. All that stuff is packed in that bag, sitting next to my.
Which let me just say right there. Not that many people are going to bring a plastic bag. There are some nasty people out there that will just throw a wet towel
musty
into their gym bag and not even think about it.
Yeah, and then know that they're not going home for 12 hours, so it's just sitting in the hot sun in Florida. Yeah, not me. So anyway, I've got that whole bag packed, and then my work bag, usually it's just my iPad or something that needs a charge, so I leave that on charge at night, but I leave it right next to my backpack, right next to the front door. Side door, doesn't matter. The door that I go out to get to my truck. I leave all that right there. And then, all I have to do in the morning is wake up. I usually, dunk my head in some cold water. I don't have a cold plunge at the moment. Not that I'm strong enough to do that yet mentally, but someday I'll get into that. But I dunk my head in cold water. That wakes me up. I brush my teeth. I get dressed, and usually I sleep in my gym clothes though, because I don't do pajamas, so I just gym shorts.
I'm with you. I literally roll out of bed. If I have to, I'll throw on my shirt, and then I drink a glass of water, and I get in the car and leave.
Yeah, so I get all that ready.
Simple.
And then all I have to do is I prep my lunches on Sundays. So I put my lunch in my backpack, take that out of the fridge, put it in my backpack, and then load up my iPad, and everything is done. So the other things too, that I do is, we run the dishwasher while we're sleeping.
Oh yeah, we do too.
I
hate listening to it when.
So on the days so then I can, anyway, all of that's done, and I'm ready to go to the gym in the morning, and then come to the podcast, and then I stay here. So we finish this up before 6 a.m. and then I just go straight to my office because it's next door, and I start working. That's simple.
I go home and open up.
Yeah, right.
Put the computer back on the stand and start working because I like if we get back and we get done and I'm there by 6, I have usually typically 2 hours, 3 hours before any agent gives me a call to bother me. Yeah. So that's like a golden ticket.
Exactly. It's prime time to get your most important stuff done without being bothered. So on the days that we don't do the podcast, right? So the night before the day, Monday night.
Okay.
Or tonight's Wednesday, so Wednesday night. What I will do is I know that Thursday I'm eating breakfast at home, which means, after we go to the gym, I drive back home, and then I do my showering. I shower, I make breakfast. So I know that I'm making breakfast. And again, I like to be efficient. So the night before, we start the dishwasher, right? And we put away all the dishes from the previous, night, if they're not already away. We do that. I usually do that in the morning. So when I get up or when I get home from the gym, I'll empty the dishwasher. Those will dry because they never dry out of the dishwasher.
Nope.
And then when I get home from work, I'll put those away and then start putting dirty dishes in. Anyway, I will take literally every utensil, and I know exactly what I need because I eat the same breakfast every day because I'm boring and I'm efficient. So I know that I'm eating 6 scrambled eggs, and I know that I'm eating, 2 or 3 potatoes that I, hash browns or cut up, whatever. So I know exactly that I need a pan. I need 2 pans. I need the whisk to, stir up my what do you call it?
Eggs.
Scramble the eggs. I need these spices. I set them out. I set out every single utensil, and I set it all out on my island so that all I have to do in the morning is go in the fridge, grab my eggs, and then put everything on the stove. That's it. I sometimes, depending on which way I'm doing the potatoes, I'll cut them the night before, get them ready. You know what I mean? I get it so ready because I know in the morning, I get to sleep longer if I don't have to wake up early and take care of all this stuff. But then also, I don't have to think about it in the morning because as soon as I have to start thinking, my head, everybody's head, you make excuses to not do something. So if I don't have all that set up and I get home from the gym, I'll go,
I'm not going to eat today.
Yeah, there's too much work. I'm going to take a nap. I'll just go back to sleep when I get home, right? And then nothing gets done. I don't eat, and then the whole rest of my day is screwed because now I'm starving. I'm rushing to get out the door for work because I went back to sleep and I missed my alarm, or not missed my alarm. I ignored my alarm, and so it's just I've built that's not even I've built out this system, and there's a couple other things that my wife and I do together to because we've got our toddler, so she goes to bed at 7, and then we literally made a checklist. So every night before bed, we check these certain items. Dishwasher started. If the trash needs to go out, the trash is out. If the dog's food's ready for the next morning, the laundry's folded and put away, because that'll kill you if you just take it out of the dryer, put it in your basket, and leave it for a week, which we've all done, and it's something that we still do from time to time, but we have this checklist, and we have both agreed that we do not go to sleep until all of these items are taken care of. That way the next day is easier on us. Then you're not upset that you're wearing wrinkly clothes. You know what I mean? It just makes everything easier, both personally, in your relationship and then for your business too, because if your personal life is running well, it's easier for you to focus on managing your business correctly.
Yes, which that's a key portion right there is, I think a lot of, I don't want to get too far off topic with that. I'll just quickly say, it is imperative to find a good partner if you're going to build a business. And I'll leave that.
Partner as in?
Meaning like
Spouse.
Spouse, yes.
Okay, yeah.
100%.
So it's two different.
I kept partner very loose there because we're in 2024.
And you have to.
And you have to. I don't want to get,
Yeah, we're not going to get canceled on our fourth episode.
some of those
yes.
plus communities.
But yeah, that spouse is probably a better term, because a business partner, you can.
Yeah, you can get confused there.
But it is absolutely imperative that you get a spouse that is supportive, and lets you, like mine and yours too. We've been through some crap with the, she let me go through so much crap with the business and has not left. She's still here and supporting every decision that I make somehow, even though, I would say 50% of them aren't great.
I don't know, and it's funny, again, I don't want to get too far off.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how many times she's probably heard me say, I'm done, I quit. Probably 365 times a year.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then the next day, she just looks at me, she goes, okay, you still going?
Yeah, I thought we were done.
Well, yeah, that was just me talking last night.
No,
what are you talking about?
Same thing. So yeah, that'll be a topic for another day. But to get back on to organizing ourselves for success, setting things up for success. So, a couple other things that we could talk about for personal life before we get on to business in another minute here. I have two schedules, right? I have my personal schedule and my business schedule. And the personal schedule was something that I didn't really...
Just curious. Is it all on one master calendar where you see both?
It is on one master calendar.
Okay, because I do the same thing. I have all one color for personal, all one color for... Well, I have the two different businesses that are each two different colors.
Right.
But I do it that way to where it's not just me time blocking business. It's me time blocking everything.
Right, and so that way, like, I do have people within my company that I share my calendar with, and they don't need to see my personal calendar.
Exactly.
So I have, we use Microsoft, so I have Outlook calendar, and that's where all my business stuff is, and then I have Google calendar that I use for personal stuff, but then I just integrated it with Microsoft so that I can see everything on my personal screen. My employees just can't see my personal stuff. But it breaks down my whole day, and we'll share this with you guys at some point. I had put a post up the other day asking, if people were interested in YouTube videos, going over some maybe tutorials or, diving deeper onto these tips and showing you guys how we set these things up specifically. So I'm going to start working on those, and maybe I'll be able to show you guys my schedule and the reason it's set up the way it is and kind of the decisions that led to me
I think, and that'd be kind of unique.
The events, sorry.
Like on a Friday, when you're planning out your next week, just YouTube it and just basically walk through. Hey, this is why I'm setting up blank. This is why I'm doing.
So we'll do that. But a lot of the stuff is repetitive. You know what I mean?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So like it's really not that hard to set up a schedule. The hard part is being disciplined and sticking to the schedule.
That's definitely in. And I'm not even going to say in the beginning of business, even when you're 2-3 years deep into business, it's doing the same things over and over and over each day, but it's because it's on the schedule.
Right.
And it's doing those repetitive things are what makes your business successful.
Yes, but, and also, again, sticking to the things that aren't repetitive. And like, if you set an hour to do a task and it takes you 2 hours, you set that hour, you need to stop at that hour and then schedule another hour later on.
I agree.
And that's... So, having this self-discipline to stick to your time blocking is very important. So, I have a personal schedule and I have a business schedule. So, my personal schedule is everything before, I get to work. And so, like, on my business schedule, it'll say studio time, 4:30 and on, right? But then on the days that I don't have that, my work schedule doesn't start till 7:30. So, my personal schedule, though, has exactly when I wake up, how long it takes me to drive to the gym, how long we're at the gym, the drive home, and then how long it takes me to make breakfast, get my kid up, get her ready, which actually my wife mainly takes care of that while I'm doing breakfast. I shower in the morning, I feed the dogs, let the dogs out, all that stuff's listed out on there. And then my drive to daycare or to work, depending on which day it is and what my schedule looks like at work. So all of that's broken down, and then it goes into my work schedule. So now we'll, if you want to add anything to personal versus work schedule.
No, I mean, everybody, does their things a little bit different. There's not much I do too much different there. I prep the day out the day prior, whatever that looks like. Obviously, if I'm going to the airport day prior, I'm just getting everything set up to where it just makes the day easy, and all I have to do is just follow the schedule. Because leading into the business side of the house, the least I have to think, and I can just put most of my computing power towards the big decisions, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to think about what carriers to log into to check. Mm-hmm. That should just be on a checklist, just copy paste, let's go.
Yep.
I need to be thinking more about the bigger decisions. What type of, how many agents am I going to bring on this month? What does the quarterly plan look like? That type of ordeal.
Yeah, that's a whole, maybe we'll hit that on the next one, but planning for success within the business. But specifically planning and figuring out what your goals are and working backwards. We'll do that on the next one.
But to more or less hit on how I plan for the business, before I walk away from the business, I take, meaning every evening, even if it's 15, 30 minutes minimally, I plan out the next day. Now, my day in my business, because of how I have it designed, it's already thought out. Every position in my company has a playbook, basically, to where they know what to do when they walk in from the day to the end of the day. So it's more or less just aligning to what that looks like for the position. And again, I wear multiple different roles as the CEO. So every day is a different operation, more or less, for me. I do, some of the admin work, but I might be doing operations one day and sales the next and recruiting the next.
Yep.
So I just make sure that when I lead into that, let's use recruiting for an example. If I have Thursdays are usually my recruiting days, that I line up all my calls for recruiting. So I'm going to go make sure the night prior that all the information I need for each one of the recruits that I'm looking at, which I typically take about 8 to 10 calls on those days. I'm going through each one of those profiles, each one of those appointments on my schedule, making sure all the information's in there, and if I need to add anything, I'm doing it then. Because once I start talking to individuals the next day and the calls start happening, what's not on the schedule is the 10,000 phone calls I'm going to receive during the day. Mm-hmm. So the last thing I want is not to be prepped for the next call and be 15 minutes behind, then have to prep and do another 15 minutes, and now I'm 30 minutes behind, get on that call, and now I'm 2 hours behind after I get off because I'm a talker.
Yeah.
And then my schedule is completely messed up.
Right.
So whatever that day looks like for recruiting, I just make sure all that information is in for their information, and then I prep my software the night prior. So if I know I'm going to be making calls at 8, I'll make sure that on my screens I have everything moved over. So all I have to do is put my finger on the screen to unlock my computer, and everything is up.
Yep.
All I simply have to do is click dial. Yep. And that's it.
So that's what, that goes hand in hand with personal, where we were talking about literally I pull out every single utensil that I need to make my breakfast. You leave at the end of the day and your screen is set up so that when you get in the morning, you don't have to go, all right, let me open up this, let me get this page open, I need to get to this website. It's all there for when you get to work in the morning.
And I mean, I will say this, I'm pretty good with technology. Mm-hmm. I have it to where on my screen, I have presets on here to where all I do is click on the certain day and it will preset my whole screen to pop up the way that I want it to.
Yeah, see that automation is another topic, that we'll need to talk about for sure. But So real quick, some of the stuff that I do, because we've only got about 5 minutes left here. Some of the stuff that I do is weekly. I kind of, at the end of the week, Fridays, every Friday at 3 p.m. I try to get out a little early on Fridays because my wife doesn't work Fridays. So I try to spend a little time with her, a little extra time with her on a Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, obviously, I'm with her. So Friday, I try from 3 to 4 p.m. I spend doing planning out my next week. So I look at my schedule, I pull my schedule up, and then I look at what my goals are for the next week, which I set at the same time. So basically, the last hour of Friday, I spend setting next week's goals and then scheduling everything.
You work backwards, meaning you know what the goal is, and then you fill in what activities meet that goal.
Right. So I set my weekly goals, and we'll do goal setting some other time. But I set my weekly goals, and then I dive into what my schedule is going to look like. So I plan out the entire week, and I block off everything. And I've learned in my industry, I need to leave a lot of space for fill-in time, right? So
you are in an industry that is very unique in the sense that it's weathered based. It's also inventory based.
Yes, and specifically, there's a lot of changes that happen on specific jobs like remodels. You know what I mean? You run into stuff every day that you're not expecting.
Yeah, no.
So you have to plan for that, right? So I set buffer hours. 1 hour a day is a buffer hour. And then on Friday, I set 3 hours for buffer. And I try to keep Friday pretty open because I know something's going to happen. I'm going to fill that time usually before Tuesday, all those buffer hours are taken and everything's filled up. But
it's funny how quick they go.
I schedule that in, and that's on an auto repeat, for every week. So those hours are already picked. I set specific times that I'm allowing my secretary to set appointments for me. Those are on repeat. And then I set my lunchtime to make sure that I don't forget to eat because most of the time, if I don't have a reminder, I will.
My wife texts me every day.
I will work right through because I get in the zone, I get onto something, and I just work right through. So
every time.
That's on a repeat, right? But then everything else, so whatever I set specific hours and time blocks for every single goal that I have. And then, say I met with a client and I need to finish up an estimate, I set that. And then I also set times every day to respond to correspondence. So lately I've been putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, and then once I get to that time block that says respond to correspondence, I've spent about 30 minutes. I open my phone up and I turn it off Do Not Disturb, and I respond to every text message, every email, every phone call that came in, and then I shut it back off after 30 minutes. And then I jump on to the next task. That way I can stay focused on what I'm supposed to be working on. And it has been, the last month has been the most productive month of my entire life because I started implementing these things. So, we had said at the beginning that we haven't made it. You know what I mean? We're not the gurus who are retired and sitting back doing nothing. We're still learning. And so that's why we wanted to start this early because, like I said, this has been my most productive month. I'm just implementing some of this stuff, but I want to share it with you guys because it's working and it's, I'm making a lot of progress really quickly, which is another thing to say that we are inherently lazy individuals, okay? Everybody is. They want to be lazy. It's easy. It's comfortable to be lazy. So you can do this. Anybody can do it. You know
That's
what I
why
mean?
I love my systems and automations.
Yes.
Because
So
if I can do the least amount of work and still get paid the same,
right,
I'm doing it all day.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I do Fridays. I spend the last hour doing that. And then every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I have 30 minutes at the end of every day where I double check the next day's schedule. Sometimes it takes me 30 minutes. Sometimes it takes me 2 minutes, but I still spend 30 minutes making sure it's good and then making sure I've got everything else checked off before I start the next day. So those are just a couple of tips on how we set ourselves up for success. We could probably spend another 2 hours talking about that, and then plus all the other topics that we just brought up while we were working on this.
It correlates into them.
Yeah, but if you, again, guys, if you guys want more information on this stuff, please let us know. A couple of you guys have already reached out and said that you wanted more information, so I'm going to start making some YouTube videos. We'll try and get him out to make a couple.
We'll try.
Yeah, he's got quite a few things going on that I don't have going on. But I'm going to shoot to make a bunch of videos in the coming months to help dive in further detail and show you guys exactly how I'm doing these things. If you guys want it. If you don't, I don't want to waste any. You know, I'm not gonna waste the time doing it. But anyway, do you have anything left that you want to touch on before we shut everything down?
No, I think that's.
Yeah, again, it was quick. We kind of ran through that pretty quick, but we're limited on our availability with the equipment that we have right now. So as soon as we get some more listeners and we start making some money at this, we'll
maybe we'll go up to an hour-long podcast.
Yeah,
instead of 30 minutes.
We'll spend an hour out here really diving into some of this stuff. We'll get some nicer equipment, and we'll hopefully produce some better stuff. But for now, I think we'll end it there, and we'll see you guys on the next one. You got anything else?
See you on the next one.
All right. Thanks, guys.